18 years, a mass murderer successfully eluded the FBI. He was wanted for the murder of his entire family. This is how art and science led to his capture. The List family lived in this large Victorian home in the quiet, affluent town of Westfield, New Jersey. John List was a 46-year-old accountant. He and his wife, Helen, had been married for almost 20 years. They had 3 children, 16-year-old Patricia, 15-year-old John, and 13-year-old Freddie. John List's elderly mother, Alma, also lived with the family in her own separate apartment on the 3rd floor. The List children attended local schools and were all active and popular. John List was a devout Lutheran and taught Sunday school. In the fall of 1971, the List house stood empty. The family was away visiting a sick relative. But when a month went by with no signs of activity, neighbors grew suspicious and decided to call the police.
They felt that something was wrong and they asked us to check the house, which we did.
When police arrived, they entered the house through an unlocked window. The house was cold, and there were no signs of activity. But they heard music.
Like a funeral dirge type music that was very disturbing to the officers who were in there.
The police also noticed the faint smell of decomposing flesh. They found the source in the ballroom. 4 bodies, each lying on a blood-soaked sleeping bag, lined up neatly, side by side. The victims were identified as Helen List and her 3 children. All had been shot to death at close range. Police noticed a blood trail on the floor, indicating that Helen and the children were shot in the kitchen, then dragged into the ballroom. In the kitchen, police found bags full of blood-soaked paper towels and a bloody mop, evidence that the killer cleaned up after the murders. Police searched the rest of the house. Upstairs on the 3rd floor, they made another chilling discovery. A 5th body, 84-year-old Alma List. She had been shot in the head. In the den, police found 2 guns and a letter addressed to the pastor of the local church the List family attended.
I know that what has been done is wrong. I'm sure many will say, how can anyone do such a horrible thing? Mother is in the hallway in the attic. She was too heavy to move.
The letter was not only a confession, but an explanation. It was signed by John List. List had recently lost a lucrative banking job, was having money problems, and feared his family would have to go on welfare. And he had other concerns. As a devout Christian, List feared his family was turning away from a Christian life and would eventually stop going to church. He disapproved of his daughter's growing interest in an acting career, a profession he considered to be immoral. In the mind of John List, there was only one place he could send his family to save their souls.
At least I'm certain that all have gone to heaven now.
The letter provided some details of the murders. That it took longer for his oldest son, John, to die. He was riveted with bullets until List was satisfied the child was dead.
John got hurt more because he seemed to struggle longer.
John List's confession also described his last moments alone with his family.
I said some prayers for them all, from the hymn book. That was the least I could do.
When news of the murders broke, neighbors told police that the mild-mannered accountant was an odd, reclusive man with very few friends. 2 days after the bodies were discovered, police found List's abandoned car in a parking lot at JFK Airport in New York. The date on the parking voucher was November 10th, but there was no evidence List had taken a flight. But police knew, wherever List was, he had a 1-month head start.